Hi, Kathryn here with Handmade by Designs. Well, with All Hallows Eve just around the corner, let's make a Bat Dangle Bracelet. This beautiful dangle bracelet is simple in its look. It's not complicated to make, but it is pretty enough to be worn year-round. So let's turn our eyes to the mat and get started. We turn our eyes to my work table and I see our mat, this beautiful piece of glass. Give thanks to the Lord with all those beautiful fall colors. I'm truly thankful to the Lord today that it seems like fall is finally beginning to truly arrive in my little part of Texas. The winds have come through today. It looks like our temperatures are going to be in the 60s, and my little dogs are so full of the zoomies. It is unbelievable. I am truly giving thanks to the Lord for this cooler weather. The little brown dog that we have, he decided that the zoomies today meant he had to bark at anything and everything that fell from the trees. From the leaves falling, and it doesn't look like my maple is going to have color. They're just going to turn brown and fall. But I am truly, truly thankful for this fall weather. Oh my goodness, what a blessing. Look around. What are you thankful for today? Has fall come to your area yet? All right, let's turn our eyes to the mat. So this is project number 7 for our October, but for the Bargain Bead Box, it is project number 2 for October, and we will be using this English cut in the black vitriol. Is that how you say that? These are really beautiful. They have a black on one side, then they're kind of a bronzy color maybe, but when you move them like that, can you see that flash of purple? It is really, really a beautiful piece. Again, from the October Bargain Bead Box, we have used this in the necklace for Project 1 from the October Bargain Bead Box. And we're going to use another one of these little bats. I got a question. They said, did you know your bat is upside down? And I said, yes, I did. Because if you notice, all the little holes on that bat are along the wings. And I want to put dangles on. And so it is meant to be upside down. Now I've also pulled out this beautiful oval memory wire. And that's what we're going to be using as the foundation for this bracelet. But we're not going to use it like you would expect it to be used. We've also pulled out some silver-plated head pins, and I pulled out some of the 3mm silver in spacer balls. So let's move this out of the way. I'm going to put that memory wire back in the little, I can't think of the word. It just left me. I'm going to put it back in this little envelope is what I'm going to do until I need it. But we will also be using jewelry tubing. I'm going to be using this in the black and to go with the beads. I had first thought I would use it in that dark brown, but I am going to use the black. I have dark brown, black, and kind of they call it clear, but it's not really. So let's go ahead, now that I put it out, we're going to pull it back out, and I am going to take one round of this oval memory wire. Now, I really don't need that much, but I'm not sure how much the bat is going to need, and I will be clipping that off. I have pulled out my memory wire cutters. They look kind of like little parrots, a little parrot beak, and don't use your regular wire cutters because it will ruin them. This stuff is stainless steel and it will it will ruin your beautiful, beautiful wire cutters. So make sure you have a pair of the memory wire cutters. And again, these are my 3mm. I think I'm going to need just a little more of these. And this, you could take the English cut and the 3mm and do a drop or a dangle earring to go with this. I had some earrings that I just repurposed, but this is what we're going to use to make this bracelet. All right, and let's see here. Where do I want to start? I think I'm going to start by bending this piece here. It's pretty flat, and I guess you could do that, but I'm going to very carefully with pressure at each one of the middle, at each middle of the memory wire, of the connector. I'm going to go ahead and bend it till it looks kind of like this. And you want to do this very carefully when you're doing it. You don't want to stress this metal out any more than you need to. Oh my goodness, I have got something that is going across my finger. I don't even know what that is. It looks like when I was doing dishes, I did not get my hands washed as well as I thought they were. Well, I hope I wash them before I get all the way through this. All right, so if you'll notice, I'm checking it on my wrist here, and I am not bending it to contour to my wrist completely because this bracelet actually is a request from my daughter, and her wrist is ever so slightly bigger than mine at the wrist bone, and I don't want it to rub on that wrist bone. Okay, oh my goodness, look at that. I hit the camera. Let's get it back down there where we need it to be. All right, so once we get it there, close your eyes if it makes you sick. I'll tell you when it's back. Okay, it's back. All right, so let's go ahead and let's start on the piece itself. So I'm going to go ahead and take my straight nose plier, and I am going to turn a circle over the top of the memory wire with the tips of my straight nose pliers. I do not want this to be a real long circle, and I will tell you, I know what is across my nail. I was working with some old English furniture polish before I started filming this. I thought I got everything washed off of my hands, but I obviously didn't pay enough attention to my finger, and I was busy looking at what I was doing as opposed to my finger, and I didn't go back in and wash it a second time. But eventually I do that in this film, so please forgive me, and please don't pay any attention to it from this point on, and I'll try not to say anything either. All right, carrying on. All right, so what I'm going to do for this, in case you're wondering, is I am going to use these loops to connect this bat, and I'm going to lay it here and decide, well, no, if I put it here, is it going to make this loop too big? And it really is. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to take those, and I'm going to have to clip a little more of it off. Don't clip so much of it off that you've clipped too much, because we are going to have to make loops still on this side, and that's what I'm doing here, is I'm just going ahead and I'm cutting this off just like that. So you'll notice that it is still not as long as the bat itself, or not as short. Long. The space isn't long enough for the bat itself, but I'll cut a little bit after I turn the other side. And I'm going to go ahead and just turn that just like that. There you go, and make that little one. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn this one right here. It is a mistake. And I will tell you it is a mistake right now, because I'm going to put the bat on, and then I'm going to realize that I have not put on my tubing. So I'm going to stop right here, and I will show you the next step. Oh, well, first of all, I'll just show you this. What I'm doing is I'm going to open up this circle. Now, whenever you do your turn on your circle, remember I said you want it to be small. And about here is where I realized, oh, wait, I did not have the bat on yet. And I don't have the tubing on. But you want your circle to go on. And I'm checking it out here to make sure I don't need to cut any more of it off. You want your circle to go on, but you want it small enough that it's not going to be intrusive in what you're doing. But then you also, oh, come on, you can do this. You also want it to be taut enough that it's going to hold that bat right up against there. And the circle itself has to be large enough that it doesn't hang on the tips of the bat's wing. So, all right, so for the next step, we've already turned our circle, but now we need to check it out with the bat wing itself. We want to make sure that the circle is open enough and large enough that it will clear just like that. It's going to clear that hole and the tip of that bat wing. So once I have done that, we will close it up. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put it inside, and then we're going to take our chain nose pliers, and I just don't like the way that circle looks. So I'll go ahead and take my straight nose pliers. I'm going to open that up, move that circle further down my straight nose pliers to get a larger circle, and go ahead and put this on to the bat wing itself. Now, once I have done that and it looks like it's going to clear that, I'm going to just go ahead and close it up. You do not want to mash it flat. I'm actually just making sure that the circle comes and touches the wire, because we will be putting other things on this wire, and if that circle isn't closed, it will just go right up into the wire and come right off. Now then, I have added a 3mm spacer ball, one of those English cut beads, and another 3mm spacer ball. That is to tie in the bracelet itself to the dangles. And now I am moving my jewelry tubing all the way around the circle. And I'm filling the end of the jewelry tubing as we go. Let's see here. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then I will go back. I will back this off just a little bit, because remember, I have to turn the other side. So I'm feeling where the tube is and I'm cutting it off. Then I'm going to bring it back down. I'm going to look at it and see, is this enough room? And it's not really, because I still need to put beads on both sides of this tubing. So I will end up moving it back down until I get a little bit more. And this is just clip, and don't throw these away. I use these for all kinds of spacing and other jewelry. So always save the little bits that you clip. You will be able to use them in other pieces. Okay, now I have a piece about like this. Let's go ahead and put on our 3mm and the English cut bead and another 3mm. And I take and I move my jewelry tubing down. So you'll see I grab it by the tips and I just move it slightly down. And oh, I finally realized that there was Old English on my fingernail. Praise God for miracles. All right. Because it was driving me crazy. I know it had to be driving you crazy. All right. So my fingernail is much better. I will remember, really check your hands if you're going to polish the furniture before you come into your workspace to work. All right. So again, I am checking the circle and I'm holding that back because I have not decided yet whether I am going to put the hook here or whether I am going to put the hook and on the underside. I go ahead and put the hook on the underside, but I left this in case this is something you wanted to do. See how forgiving that is, where it just goes right like that. And then I put this hook on, and I will tell you why I did not use the lobster claw clasp this way. First of all, I thought it made too much of a break in the top, but that's just my aesthetics. That's what I like. And I know that's what my daughter would like. And she's young and she doesn't have any trouble getting these things closed, but I do. Okay. And then I looked at the smallest of my jump rings and the little hole that I wanted to put it in, and it wouldn't go through that hole. All the years that I have been doing this, and I will still think, oh yes, if it has a hole, these jump rings must fit through it. But that is not true. That there's different gauges and sizes, and that hole was not meant for this, and I had to fight with it, and I went, oh, come on, I really need you to go through. And I finally got it through, but it's really, really stiff. So make sure you check before you get your jump ring on there, before you decide to do this when you're pulling jump rings. Now let me go ahead and close this up, and I hope I get it up here where you can see it, because this was the reason I decided my daughter would not like that at all. So let's see here. Do you see how it pulls up? It gives it too much space right there. And remember, when we started this, I said you wanted this to be taut on the top so that your bat will sit along your wrist bone. And so that is not going to work for her. So we're going to take this off, and we're going to adjust it, and we're going to do what I was going to do in the first place before I thought I had a brainstorm. Well, it was a storm, but it wasn't a good storm, at least not for me. All right. Now, if I had cut off more of the metal, if I had made this a smaller oval, then yes, that would work. But then it would make it too tight for her wrist. So let's go ahead and see if I can't get this off since I forced it in. I know I did because I finished the bracelet. All right. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to tighten that, push that back down so I can get to the curve. And we're going to go ahead and put it in just like this. Now, if you have a small hand, or you're one of those wonderful people that can cause your hand to collapse, where your thumb and little finger go kind of in and you have this teeny little palm, you wouldn't have to do anything else but this. But this is what I did to fix it. I measured to the middle, just like that. I clipped it. I cut a few more pieces off. I did a turn and put the lobster claw in it, and then I made a bigger circle on the other side, and I just put that right into the circle of the bracelet, and that makes it taut where it's going to lay across her wrist, and the bat is going to look like kind of like a butterfly that lands on your wrist, and it's amazing. I had that happen our very first time when we got to go to Disney when our kids were young, and that butterfly just landed on my wrist, and I have never forgotten it. It was amazing. And that's what this makes me think of, even if it is a little silver bat. All right, next up, we're going to go ahead and do the dangles for this. So for this, you're going to need head pins, the cut beads we used on the bracelet, and these beautiful little 3mm spacer balls. We're going to do a short one, and 2 short ones and 2 long ones. And for this, let me show you, I'm just loading these on. Let's go ahead and look at this here, and I will tell you, I'll get a picture and tell you what I have done. So this is the English cut in that black vitriol. It gives you a purple and kind of golden glow as it moves on the dangle. And what I've done here is I've started out with a 3mm spacer. Then I've added one of the English cuts, a spacer, another of the English cuts, and a spacer. And next we are going to use the looper to make the loop on top. But before we move on, would you take a moment and like and comment on this video? And please consider sharing this video with others. And then lastly, would you also subscribe to our channel if you haven't already? And when you do, remember to click that notification button so that you are notified whenever we put up new content. Thank you so much. It really does help to grow this channel. Thank you. All right, as I said, we're going to use our looper. We put the eye pin across the jaws of the looper, making sure that 3mm is touching the jaw, then mashing it closed, it makes a little loop. Now, if it doesn't close it all the way, that's okay at this point, but we will need to make sure it does before we are through. Now, what I'm showing you, because my hands have moved off, is I'm going to be using those last 4 little holes in the bat wing, because we've used 2 of them to put the bracelet together. So for the shorter one, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put, if I can catch it, on a 3mm, then one of the English cut and a 3mm. And then again, I'm going to put the head pin right across the jaws till it touches the bead, mash it, and it should close it. I'm going to do 2 of the small ones and 2 of the large ones. I'll see you in a sec. All right, we have them all together and we're ready to put them on. I just love this little piece. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead. Oh, let's see here. Make sure that I have everything closed off. That's what I'm doing here. I'm checking all the things and making sure it opens and closes well before I get to the point where I would like to put these on. All right, now when I go to put them on, I have closed those up and I'm going to use these teeny little jump rings. And the reason I am is because the head pin was just slightly too big. That's what I was saying in the beginning. Make sure everything will go through your little holes. But that's okay, because whenever I put it on with this very small little jump ring, it actually frees it up to give more movement. And I really like a lot of movement in my bracelets. And I know that my daughter takes after me. I have a friend that she wants hers to fit tight and there not be any movement, but I want mine loose and I want it to be able to move, because I love movement in my pieces. And if you've watched me for very long, you will know that I do. Now, whenever you are putting these on, and again, I'm sorry that I am just ignoring that pin I put to tell me where the camera was centered at, but you want to make sure that you hold your jump rings between 2 chain nose pliers, hold one side steady, and then twist just like this so that you're not stressing them. Then if you start out by putting the jump ring through the bracelet and then adding your dangle, go ahead and be consistent with that by putting your jump ring on first onto your bracelet and then the dangle. Now, it might not matter with this piece. It really depends on the beads. But with pieces where it does matter, it's very important that there is a consistency so it will hang the same off that jump ring for both parts every time. Again, I've opened up my jump ring and this one says, oh no, it has a little tip on it where the bat wing is, but I've got it in, and then I'm going ahead and putting on my dangle. And then I'll close it up by holding it steady and twisting just one wrist. And I try to always touch the top. You can't see that because my hands are out of the way, but that way, if it's rough, I know I haven't got it closed. Sometimes I remember to put on my magnifiers so I can see that closure, and sometimes I can't. So I just try to make it a habit. And here you'll see that middle one, I am checking it, and even though it did not feel rough, it was not completely closed. Now look at that. Isn't that pretty? Come on, raise your hands up, Kathryn. There you go. Now isn't that pretty? I just love the way that hangs. And so I did 2 of the small ones on the outside and 2 of the longer ones on the inside. And this bracelet is finished. Now isn't that lovely? All right, let's look at this on the heart. That is just so pretty. Now, could you turn this around and put the dangles on the other side? Yes, you could. There's not necessarily holes for it, but it is a filigree piece. And so they are large spaces where you could put the dangles. They would move around a little more in that space. But if it bothers you that the bat is going to be facing away from you on your wrist, then by all means flip it around. There is a hole in the very center you could put something on, and there's a hole on the very end of that wing. So it's just really up to you. And here are some pictures. Thank you so very much for joining me on this eve of All Hallows Eve. Make one of these for yourself. This is a beautiful bracelet for this time of year, but because of its simplicity and color, it would be perfect any time of the year. God bless you and God keep you safe through this holiday weekend, and I will see you on Saturday. Blessings, y'all. Kathryn, Handmade by Circle Art Designs. God bless. Happy beading.